On this show, I have been making a little bit of fun of the fact that the 2008 election hasn't ended. And it is kind of funny to me, the interminable election. But given the actual news coming from Georgia and Minnesota and Alaska, it's sort of less funny than it is fascinating and serious at this point. This is still about 60 Democratic seats potentially in the United States Senate. And if my non-scientific basic math in my head is accurate, there is a real chance tonight of a filibuster-proof, presumably pro-Obama Senate. Georgia is a tough runoff election. Minnesota is a practical tie heading for a recount. And Alaska, there's a lot to say about Alaska. We're getting to that in just a second. First, though, to Georgia. Okay, now ready? First to Georgia, where John McCain campaigned again today. McCain's appearance came as Georgia's Secretary of State today certified last week's election results. It's official. Neither Saxby-Chambliss nor Democrat Jim Martin broke the 50% threshold. So the runoff is definitely on for December 2nd. Here's John McCain today trying to rally the troops and stave off a Democratic supermajority.
I have seen the ability of the Democrats to organize, to get volunteers, and to get out the vote. I have seen it, and you have seen it as well. So we're going to have to get out our vote. I didn't think I would be back on the campaign trail quite this early.
Neither did we, but it is nice to see you, Senator. To the Senate race in Minnesota, Republican incumbent Norm Coleman leads Democrat Al Franken by just 206 votes. Today, Franken's campaign filed a lawsuit against one Minnesota county seeking the names of would-be voters whose absentee ballots were rejected. Franken also plans to dispatch 1,250 volunteers, including 250 lawyers, across the state to help with the recount. Senator Chuck Schumer, who heads the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, he chimed in today saying this, quote, "It won't be another Florida." I sure hope not, but it sometimes feels like it. Finally, back to Alaska. Oh, Alaska, there's so much to say. First, score one for lawmakers under investigation as they seek re-election. The Associated Press called the Alaska House race for Republican incumbent Don Young. Now, as for convicted felon and fellow Republican incumbent Ted Stevens and his race against Anchorage Mayor Mark Begich, there are ballots still to be counted. The last time we spoke of this, about 24 hours ago, Begich had a 3-vote lead, having overcome a 3,000-vote initial deficit. At the latest report, Begich reportedly leads by a larger margin, 814 votes now, with 35,000 early and absentee ballots still left to tally. One person who thinks the race will go Mark Begich's way is Senator Stevens' pollster from the primary season, David Dittman. He told the Huffington Post, quote, "I don't think Stevens can come back." Besides inching the Democrats and Barack Obama one seat closer to 60, a Begich win would close one of Sarah Palin's proverbial doors to Washington. For example, Stevens wins, gets expelled, Palin runs in a special election and winds up in the Senate. So it would be a double bonus for the blue among you if Begich won. How's it going to wind up, at least in Alaska? How did Alaska become the most fascinating political state in the union this year? Well, joining us now is Anchorage Mayor, could be Alaska Senator, Democrat Mark Begich. Mr. Mayor, thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you very much.
How confident are you that your lead will hold, and how confident are you in the counting process at this point?
Well, I guess I just say we're, the line we've been using, we're cautiously optimistic. We like where we're at today. And as I was walking into the studio tonight, one small little area of Alaska had 69 votes come in, and we gained 10 more. So we're 824 ahead today. So that's in Alaska politics, that's a super landslide. I know when I won my mayor's race in 2003, I won it with a great landslide of 18 votes. So I'm used to this. And it's what I've always said, this race will be a close race. We still have counts on Friday and then again on Tuesday to finish it off, almost 35,000 more votes to be counted. So we're cautious, we're optimistic, but we're feeling like we're moving in the right direction.
Is it purely a topographical and geographical Alaska thing that it takes this long to count? Does it always take this long to count?
In close races, we have, this third of the vote that came in this time came in from early votes, absentee walk-ins, and question ballots. This is one of the largest early vote numbers we've ever seen, almost a third of the voting population. So because of that, I think the system was just overburdened right away with that kind of number. But the election workers are working double time. They're working very hard. We give them a lot of credit. We have great faith in our system up there. It's a paper trail as well as electronic, so we feel very confident. But there are votes that do come in from rural Alaska, and if they're coming in by mail, in other words, they're being mailed out, and the planes are delayed because of weather conditions, it can take a little while. So we're confident this is a normal process. It's a little bigger, like I said, about a third of the vote coming in from early votes, absentee. That's a big number for us. But that was something we worked double time on. We really pushed the envelope, getting people to vote early, get our votes into the bank basically early on. I even voted 2 weeks early. My vote wasn't counted till just yesterday, so I was still out.
Do you expect that there will be a recount in this race regardless of what the outcome is?
Well, I think the number, the kind of the threshold based on what's left to come in, if it's around 1,600 votes difference between myself and Senator Stevens, I'm of course hoping it's in my direction, there will not be an automatic recount. It's about 0.5%. If it's less than 0.5%, it's automatic. It will just be a recount. When they're this large in margins, it's a very difficult thing to change many votes in a recount in Alaska. In the old days, way back when there wasn't this system we have today, it was easier. There was votes that had to be retallied. But in this situation, I think it's going to be very difficult. If we're well over 1,500 votes, it'll be difficult to change those numbers.
Is the situation from here on out one that would be familiar to national observers in the sense that there will be lots of lawyers landing in Juneau, landing in Alaska, trying to monitor this, you and your campaign team sort of hovering, as well as Senator Stevens and his campaign team hovering? Is everybody on site, in touch, really involved in a hands-on way with this?
Well, what's been happening, literally the day after the election, we dispatched folks out to, there's 4 regions. We dispatched them out to Nome, Fairbanks, Juneau, and Anchorage, because that's where the vote counts occur, and then they're sent into the central office and then tallied up. So we dispatched people out right away because we wanted to make sure, as they were verifying the question ballots as well as the absentees, that they met all the criteria and that nothing was left out. We didn't want to take anything for granted. But once you've done that process, the recount is a much more formal process of just re-entering and re-examining minimal amounts of ballots. So it's a very tight system after this vote count that occurs.
Mr. Mayor, I understand that you have met with President-elect Obama before. Has he offered any help, any suggestions, any advice to you at this point about this?
Well, not about this situation. I will tell you, it was several months ago during the campaign, I got a chance to have a few words with him privately in the mayor's conference, which I sit on the advisory board, and I had a chance to talk to him about Alaska issues. I talked about the gas line, how important that was for not only Alaska, but for energy independence for this country, as well as another item called NPRA. It's a very technical item, but it's an oil lease sale up in Alaska. Both of these supported by environmental communities as well as development communities. Asked him to put them in his energy plan, which he did, and I was very pleased about that. But in this situation, we did have the Vice President-elect Biden call and check in with the campaign to see how we were doing, as well as many other senators.
I can tell you that voter protection and election protection activists and folks still scarred by Florida 2000 are sort of on a hair trigger at this point to deploy to any of the undecided Senate races with worry. So your comforting words, I'm sure, will get people to relax for another evening. Mark Begich, Anchorage Mayor, could be Alaska Senator. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, and it's an honor to be here.